Welcome back from the break. I'm Mubarak Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been awarded Kuwait's highest honour, the Order of Mubarak Al-Kabeer. It's a 20th international award bestowed upon him by a country. The Order of Mubarak Al-Kabeer is a knighthood order of Kuwait. It's awarded to heads of state and foreign sovereigns and members of foreign royal families. It has been previously awarded to foreign leaders like Bill Clinton, Prince Charles and George Bush. Last month, Prime Minister was conferred with the highest national award of Guyana, the Order of Excellence, during his visit to the nation. The Prime Minister received a grand ceremonial welcome in Kuwait during his state visit to the Gulf nation. He was also accorded a ceremonial guard of honour at the Bayan Palace in Kuwait. The Amir of Kuwait, Sheikh Meshal, Al-Ahmad, Al-Sabah was also present during this ceremony. Let's in fact take a look at what exactly is this award that has been bestowed upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi and what makes it, of course, significant. Also remember, the fact is that this is yet another global honour that has been given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it is the Order of Mubarak Al-Kabeer, which of course has been bestowed upon him, as you can see in this picture. It's a knighthood order of Kuwait, and it's of course a very, very prestigious award. The order is awarded to heads of state and foreign sovereigns, as well as to members of foreign royal families, as a sign of friendship from the side of Kuwait. It was founded on the 16th of July 1974 by the national government to celebrate memory of Mubarak al-Sabah, who was also known as the Great. The Order of Mubarak Al-Kabeer is a knighthood order of Kuwait. Of course, now has been bestowed upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it's of course a big honor that has been bestowed upon Prime Minister Modi by Kuwait. And the insignia, of course, as you can see very clearly, its collar of the order is composed of a gold medallion with a decorative ring with floral motifs as well. And it was previously awarded to foreign leaders like Bill Clinton, Prince Charles, as well as George Bush. Now, this, of course, is yet another honour for Prime Minister Narendra Modi that has, of course, been bestowed upon him by Kuwait, the Order of Mubarak Al-Kabeer, but it is not the first for Prime Minister Modi. He was previously awarded the Order of King of Abdulaziz in Saudi Arabia as well. This is the highest civilian order of Saudi Arabia given to foreign dignitaries, that of course was bestowed upon him in Saudi Arabia. He was also awarded the State Order of Ghazi Amir Amanullah Khan in Afghanistan. It's the highest civilian honour of Afghanistan, which was given to Narendra Modi. In Palestine too, the Order of the State of Palestine was bestowed upon Prime Minister Modi, the highest civilian honour of Palestine given to him. The Maldives too presented him the Order of the Izzuddin, the highest civilian order of Maldives, awarded to foreign dignitaries. And the UAE had also given him the Order of Zayed, the highest civilian award in the United Arab Emirates. Bahrain had also awarded him the Order of the Renaissance. It's the third highest civilian honour in Bahrain that was bestowed upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Legion of Merit, meanwhile, was given to PM by the Chief Commander, the highest degree of Legion of Merit, and the United States, of course, had conferred that upon Prime Minister Modi. Fiji too had given him the Order of Fiji. It's the highest civilian honour there. And Papua New Guinea had presented him with the Order of Loguhu, the highest civilian honour in Papua New Guinea, which was given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Order of the Nile, of course, also awarded to him in Egypt. It's the highest civilian honour there. It was given to Prime Minister Modi. The Legion of Honour in France presented to Narendra Modi earlier too. It's a Grand Cross. It's the highest civilian honour of France. You can see there a picture of Emmanuel Macron giving that to Prime Minister Modi. In Greece, the PM was given the Order of Honour, the second highest civilian honour of Greece. And in Bhutan, he was given the Order of the Dragon King, the highest civilian honour of Bhutan. So clearly, in Russia too, he was given the Order of St. Andrew. It's a Grand Cross. And in Dominica too, Dominica Award of Honour, the highest civilian honour there was given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In Nigeria too, the Order of the Federal Republic was given to Prime Minister Modi. It's the highest order there in Nigeria. And in Guyana, very, very recently, he was given the Order of Excellence of Guyana, the highest civilian honour of Guyana. That, of course, was a picture of that ceremony when it took place. Joining us now to look at this story in further detail is a special panel. We have Mahesh Sachdev live with us. former diplomat. Also joining us now live is Professor Rohan Gunaratna, foreign affairs expert. He's also with us on the broadcast. Ninad Sheth, foreign policy expert, also joins us live. Ambassador Sajdev, very, very significant achievement for India and for Prime Minister Narendra Modi today in Kuwait.
I think the visit itself is a landmark, as you yourself mentioned. The relations date back centuries, but in official terms, they date back to 1898 when India, as a British dominion, became involved in a treaty of protection with Kuwaiti Amir against Ottomans and against Iranian Empire. And British, through Bombay Presidency, did that and laying the foundation for all sort of things, including having Indian currency as the legal tender in Kuwait till the independence of Kuwait in 1960. 61 is when Kuwaiti dinar was created. Uh, so it sure goes to show how deep the relations are. They have undergone a bit of a hiatus, as everybody has mentioned, for 43 years since the last summit visit by Indian Prime Minister to Kuwait. Kuwaiti emirs have been coming to India. At the same time, one should also add here that during the past 10 years or so, when Prime Minister Modi has been in the realm, uh, Kuwait has not been visited, partly because Kuwaiti's own domestic uh, political setup was not uh, in in a stable condition. The emirs changed and emirs were indisposed, and there is greater stability. The new emir has had his first year marked last week amongst great fanfare. Stability seems to have returned to Kuwait with new parliamentary election and new government. And Kuwait now looks forward to uh, reclaiming its eminent position in the Gulf. As if you recall, during 60s, 70s, and early 80s, Kuwait used to be the pioneer in the Gulf with women empowerment, with the parliament, with the constitutional progress, and with universities, academics, and cultural issues. They used to be far ahead of everyone else. But then 1982, the banking crisis, the financial crisis, the Gulf War, Saddam Hussein's uh, fight with Ayatollah Khomeini, and other issues, including invasion of Kuwait by Iraq in 1990, uh, liberation of Kuwait later by Americans, uh, the the overthrow of Saddam Hussein in 2003, I should say, and relating uh, instability in the northern Gulf has caused Kuwait considerable stagnation, economically, socially, and insecurity. Now Kuwait seems to be recovering from it, and the visit is very apt and timely. And I believe that this would be the time when Kuwait uh, re-engages itself domestically in rebuilding its infrastructure, putting the various cornerstones to its progress vision 2035 in place with huge infrastructural developmental issues and also reclaim its position, as I said, of importance in the GCC countries. So, Prime Minister's visit is extremely timely, and it allows us, a resurgent India, to re-engage with a resurgent Kuwait. Thank you.
Quickly take that across to Professor Owen Gunaratna as well. Professor Gunaratna, what does this, this award mean for the India-Kuwait relationship? How important are gestures like this? It's of course not the first award for Prime Minister Modi. He's received several high accolades like this across the world. But what really is conveyed through such a gesture, through this award for Narendra Modi?
Kuwait bestowing the highest honor to Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a demonstration of the importance of India. Every Indian living in India and overseas should be very proud of this honor. Of course, Prime Minister Modi can do much more for India than what he has done so far. Prime Minister Modi should normalize the relationship with China because he's one of the greatest living leaders of the early 21st century. Because India and China has been friends for more than 3,000 years until 1962. So if Prime Minister Modi can enhance that rapprochement into a permanent relationship, he would have achieved much more than any other recent Indian leader. The second is, of course, a very tough challenge for him, that is to normalize the relationship with Pakistan. Between Pakistanis and Indians, there's very little difference. But Indians and Pakistanis constantly harass and fight each other. Prime Minister Modi can reach out to Pakistan and normalize that relationship. And I believe that all these awards that he has received internationally has strengthened him as a global leader, and he should harness it to stabilize India in the long term. Western and Eastern nations always have confrontation, containment strategies. But if you look at the Indian culture and civilization, which is very dharmic, Prime Minister Modi can engage both Pakistan and China one at a time and bring greater stability to India. India's rise in the early 21st century is inevitable, but it must be free from conflict, free from intervention, free from intrusions, and he can do it. So I believe that the Foreign Ministry of India, I believe that the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, all these ministries, Ministry of Finance, will work together to restore that great relationship India had with China in the past before 62, and we'll also work on Pakistan. And that itself will be a lesson for the world. That is, rather than the East and the West fight, Russia and the US, Russia and Europe, China and the West, China and the US, Prime Minister Modi will create a pathway, a strategic long-term pathway to even restore global security and stability.
Okay, let me in fact quickly take that to Ninad Sheth as well. Ninad Sheth, it's a big moment, of course, for Prime Minister Modi. It's a 20th global honor for him. What does this really mean for his stature as a global leader and also for India-Kuwait ties going ahead?
It is having a couple of, takeaways. The first is a symbolic takeaway. There is a symbolic importance when a nation is bestowing its highest honor to a prime minister. It gives you political capital. It allows you space to then, talk to that nation and build a bilateral relationship. There is also a real element here. Kuwait is an extremely important, hidden in plain sight ally of India. There is the first aspect of, $20 billion of bilateral trade every year. out of which India exports $2 billion and imports $18 billion. We have oil import, 3% of our energy imports, gas and oil come from Kuwait. India has, I think, gone for two things in this particular outreach. The first is an attempt to have what is called an investment treaty. The investment treaty is important because aside from trade, the Kuwait Investment Authority, Kuwait has set up a sovereign fund. It was probably the first to set up a sovereign fund after, I think, the Nordic nations, called the Kuwait Investment Authority, which over the last 12 years has put in a staggering $20 billion in Indian companies. It owns significant stakes in many Indian companies like Axis Bank, like Max Healthcare. So, that is a very important economic part of the relationship. Now, what we do not have here right now is a structured economic partnership. So, if a structured economic partnership through an investment treaty comes, there will be significant inflows of Kuwaiti capital arising from that. There is also increasing unease both in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait on depending too much as they traditionally have on the Pakistani army, given the jihadi mindset, the increasing jihadi mindset within Pakistan. The Gulf nations are looking to diversify both their security and constabulary options. And I personally think that the defense pact, if it is signed, a security and defense pact which is being spoken about, it will include a lot of interesting elements, which may include joint exercises, joint even deployment of Indian troops, and of course, sell. Already there have been reports that they are looking for ammunition for their weapon systems from India. India is one of the largest exporters of ammunition in the world. So there is the defense aspect. Then thirdly, and very, very importantly, the Prime Minister visited an Indian labor camp. 1 million Indian laborers send in $3 trillion a year in repartitions. The Prime Minister, by visiting the labor camp, sends a signal that as India's clout rises in the world, its diaspora has India's back. And this is a very important gesture because, as you may recall, in June, there was a massive fire which killed 45 Indians in Kuwait. The working conditions of the Kuwaitis are a priority for India. This is a very important signal that India is sending worldwide. Finally, I would like to say that you will see a very new development, well, not new in the whole context, but new with Kuwait, of India's maritime diplomacy. You will see more deployment by the Indian Navy and more deployment by the Kuwaiti Navy, joint deployments in the Gulf and perhaps even outside the Gulf. So to put it in perspective, a very important ally, has with whom we have had traditional ties. These ties are now, because of Narendra Modi's personal push, going to the future.
Right. Okay, let me in fact quickly take that across once again back across to Ambassador Sachdev. Ambassador Sachdev, now overall, with this visit, of course, the first of its kind after 43 years by an Indian Prime Minister, where do you see India-Kuwait relationship headed?
I think it's headed in more positive territory. As I mentioned, both countries are looking forward to their economic and geopolitical resurgence. Kuwait has ambitions to reclaim its position as it used to have till UAE and Qatar and Saudi Arabia came along and became economic superpowers of the region. There are issues connected with Iran and Iraq as well as Syria. These countries have to be eventually reconstructed in terms of their infrastructure, soft and hard. And I think India and Kuwait can collaborate in undertaking financing and civil works, soft infrastructure, institution building, etc., in which both countries have plenty of experience. There are complementarities in terms of oil and natural resources. Kuwait can follow the paradigm which others have done. Oman, UAE, and even Saudi Arabia are thinking or have already done, setting up investments into India's downstream petrochemical and refining sectors so as to ensure demand security for their products. Oil market is tipping towards peak energy when peak demand uh, would start uh, reverting the global oil consumption. It could be due to climate change. It could be due to greater prevalence of e-vehicles. As China has seen for past 6 months, Chinese oil demand has been falling, and that is causing great pain to the global oil market. Imagine if India, the third largest oil importer and consumer, also goes into that kind of orbit, what will happen to the oil and natural gas? So we need to work on a pathway to uh, do it in a correct manner so that sudden uh, gyrations of lack of investment, everybody withdrawing from hydrocarbon sector, and then sudden surge of prices as mismatch occurs between demand and supply are avoided. Best way to do it is to invest jointly in projects in India by Kuwait. You have mentioned Kuwait Investment Authority, a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, world's first of its kind. But out of $1 trillion, less than 1% has come to India, which which is the world's fastest growing major economy. And the oil consumption in India at the moment is 3 times the global growth rate. So uh, it doesn't need rocket science to know if you are an oil producer, where would you need to be. Similarly, Kuwaitis have plenty of talent in terms of science and technology. They, having invested pioneeringly into this area of education and skilling for a long time before others did, and therefore they are very interested in finding alternative to oil through reliance on Industrial Revolution 4.0, through IT, and so on. And India can be a rightful partner in that pursuit through joint projects, through joint investments, etc. All this is possible if the leadership of two countries converge on a set agenda. And by setting up a joint commission at a higher level, headed by the two foreign ministers instead of Minister of State so far, we have shown the proclivity in this direction, and that makes me very optimistic.
Okay, my thanks to you, to all our guests for joining us on the broadcast.